Tony, you've been an enduring part of American music, and particularly the Great American Songbook, for a long time, many, many decades.
Thank you.
And I'd like to know, from your point of view, who represents, in terms of either songwriting or lyricist, the best of it? Is it George and Ira Gershwin? Is it Cole Porter, Dorothy Fields? Who represents it from your perspective of performing these great songs?
Boy, that's a tough question. I would say Cole Porter was the greatest one as far as talent, you know, as far as intelligence. I mean, he wrote words and music, and he wrote it so well that you can't believe how magnificent a creative composer lived like Cole Porter. But then again, it was a Renaissance area. You mentioned Dorothy Fields, who was the only lady that composed in those days of the whole group. But then you had Arthur Schwartz, you know, and Dietz and Schwartz, and Johnny Mercer. But then you had George and Ira Gershwin. Ira was such a great lyricist, beside Gershwin being such a magnificent genius, and Duke Ellington. And it was, I'll tell you what it is. I spent my life doing those songs. And throughout, from year to year, every executive at record companies would say, "You're not doing new songs." And I say, "No," I said that they're old songs. I said, "They're not old, they're great." And what I was really trying to tell them is that, without waving a flag, in the United States, that Renaissance period from the 20s, 30s, and 40s created the greatest popular music that was ever written on the face of the earth. There's nothing that can match it. I'm absolutely convinced that 35 years or 50 years from now, that music will not be called popular music, it will be called America's classical music, just like you would say Mozart or Puccini or Bach or Beethoven or Brahms. Someday you'll say, I'm sure that the world will say, the greatest music of popular music that was ever written was written in the United States. And it came out of this one group of people that just would, who knows why it started or how it was created, but it was beautiful. It was just like at the turn of the centuries in the French, at the turn of the century, you know, you had Ravel and Debussy and Tchaikovsky, but then you had painters like Monet and Van Gogh and Sisley and Gauguin and all these great ones. And it was a period that happens to a certain country. And that music never goes away, no matter how modern music gets. You still, or paintings, let's say like you see Monet, to this day you look at a Monet painting and say, my God, look at how beautiful that is. Well, it's the same thing with George Gershwin and Jerome Kern and Johnny Mercer from Savannah, Georgia, who was magnificent, and Yip Harburg and Harold Arlen, who was a great jazz composer. Greatest jazz composer that ever lived was Harold Arlen, with Yip Harburg writing lyrics, who was just my favorite as the greatest lyric writer. And I'm still, I look at a song, Rodgers and Hart, you know, or Rodgers and Hammerstein, and I just say, look what they wrote. Just look what they wrote. There's none better. They all had a great gift that you can't learn in college. Either you got it or you haven't got it when it comes to composing. And it was a group that just knew that they had it, and they all exchanged ideas and had jam sessions, you know, where they got together and showed each other what they were writing, and it was a great period of music, the best. Fred Astaire introduced almost all of those songs, and he's very much a part of the American Songbook also.
When you were Well, you had two heroes, one or two idols, Bing Crosby and Nat King Cole. When you were looking at them, could you ever conceive at that point that you would be in those footsteps so many decades later?
No, I just loved it, but I can't believe how many beautiful things have happened to me in my life, you know, from where I started from and the way I'm treated now. It's just, it's a blessing. I have a charmed life.
I think we all think you do, and we're glad for it.
Thank you.
We do have one last question, because I know you have to go, but because of your association not only in the world of music, but in the world of Las Vegas, what one Las Vegas memory stands out for you of all of the years that you've been performing here in Las Vegas?
Wow, that's a good question. There was a concert I did at the Sahara Hotel that was recorded. And eventually it'll come out. It's a wonderful recording, and it was just one of those great nights where the music was right and the artists that were in the audience were right. Mickey Rooney got up on stage, and it was a small stage, so when he got up, and it was comical the way he climbed up on stage, and he said, "I know," he says, "You know," he says, "I know you're laughing because I'm short." He says, "I'm 300,000 short." He was talking about all of his divorces, you know. And, there were a lot of great days in Vegas, many, many great days.
Well, thank you very much, Tony, for being on Lunchtime with Ira.
Thank you very much.